If you know the name Imhotep, it is probably from a horror film. A bandaged monster clawing its way out of a sarcophagus, hunting the living. The real man was almost the exact opposite. He was a builder, a healer's namesake, and one of the only ordinary people in all of Egyptian history that Egypt turned into a full god. He was not born royal. He wore no crown, and yet, for more than 2,000 years after his death, people prayed to him. His name was Imhotep, and almost everything the movies told you about him is wrong. Some of what the history books tell you is not quite solid either. So let us do something the legend never bothers with. Let us separate what we actually know from what we only wish we knew. Start with the hardest ground, the one thing about him we can almost touch. In the sand at Saqqara, near the Great Pyramid he is famous for, archaeologists found the base of the statue of a king, and carved into that base, beside the king's own name, was the name of a commoner. That king was Djoser, who ruled early in what we call the Third Dynasty, and the commoner named beside him was Imhotep. For a non-royal person to be named on a royal statue at all was extraordinary. It tells us he mattered enormously to the king. The titles carved next to his name are our best real evidence of who he was. Chancellor to the king, first after the king of Upper Egypt. High priest at Heliopolis, the ancient center of the sun god. And tellingly, chief of the sculptors and the carvers of stone. Hold on to that last one. Chief of those who worked in stone, because of what Egypt built during his lifetime. When Djoser came to the throne, roughly 4,700 years ago, Egyptian kings were buried under low, flat, mud-brick tombs. Solid, heavy, but not tall and not stone. And then, at Saqqara, something rose that had never been built before. 6 great stone steps, stacked one on top of the other, climbing over 60 meters into the sky. The Step Pyramid of Djoser. It is, as far as we know, the first monumental building in the world made from cut, dressed stone. The ancestor of every pyramid that followed, and this is where the legend begins and where we have to be careful for the first time. You will constantly hear that Imhotep designed it, that he was the world's first architect. It is a wonderful line. It may even be true. But listen to exactly what our evidence does and does not say. No text from Imhotep's own lifetime calls him the designer of the pyramid. Not one. The credit comes from 2 softer places. From his own titles, chief of the stoneworkers, standing right beside the first great stone monument, and from much, much later tradition. More than 2,000 years after he died, a Greek-era historian named Manetho wrote that a man like him had invented the art of building in dressed stone. So the honest version is this. Imhotep is the earliest architect, whose name has come down to us at all. Not provably the first architect who ever lived. And the pyramid credit is likely and reasonable, but it rests on later memory, not on a signature in the stone. While we are being careful with dates, one more warning. The chronology of the Old Kingdom is genuinely uncertain. Serious historians place Djoser's reign anywhere across more than 100 years of possibility, because there are no reliable king lists this far back, so every date in this story is an educated approximation, not a fact. Now for the biggest myth of all, the one on every poster that calls him the father of medicine. You will read, again and again, that Imhotep was a great physician, that he wrote the oldest medical books, that he healed the sick 2,000 years before Hippocrates. It is one of the most repeated things about him, and the evidence for it from his own time is essentially nothing. The claim usually leans on a famous document called the Edwin Smith Papyrus, an astonishing ancient surgical text, calm and methodical, describing wounds and treatments case by case. It is a real treasure, but it is not signed, it names no author, and scholars think it was copied and added to by more than one hand. The idea that Imhotep wrote it came from the man who first translated it, James Henry Breasted. And here is the part the posters leave out. Breasted himself said plainly that the guess rested on no evidence at all. He was speculating, and he admitted it. The Egyptologist James Allen put it even more bluntly. There is no evidence, he wrote, that Imhotep himself was a physician. So how did a man with no proven medical record become the god of medicine? Slowly, over an enormous stretch of time. That is the real and stranger story. For centuries after his death, he was remembered. But he was not a god. He was a great sage, a wise ancestor, a name scribes respected. Scribes are said to have poured out a drop of water to him before they began to write, the way you might nod to a master of your craft. Then, across the long centuries, the memory of the man kept growing until it outgrew the man entirely. By the later periods of Egyptian history, roughly 2,000 years after he lived, Imhotep was no longer just a clever official. He had become a god, one of the only non-royal human beings in the whole of Egyptian history to be raised that high. They gave him a divine family. He became a son of Ptah, the great creator god of Memphis, the city of craftsmen, a fitting father for a master builder. And he became, above all, a god of healing. The sick came to his temples to be cured. They practiced something called incubation. A sufferer would sleep inside the sanctuary, hoping the god would appear in a dream and prescribe a cure by morning. They left behind small bronze figures of him as offerings. A seated man, calm, a roll of papyrus open across his knees. Many of those little statues sit in museums around the world today. When the Greeks came to Egypt, they met this healing god and recognized something familiar. They matched him with their own god of medicine, Asclepius. They even gave him a Greek version of his name, Imhotep, which is its own quiet irony, because Asclepius in the Greek stories was also a mortal healer who had been lifted up into a god. Two cultures, the same instinct. Take the best healer you can imagine and make him divine. For a person who left almost no record of ever treating a single patient, it is a remarkable afterlife. Which brings us to the last mystery, and it is a strange one for a man this famous. We have never found him. We do not know where Imhotep is buried. For a figure worshipped for thousands of years, whose statues fill museums, whose name survives on that royal pedestal, his own grave has never been securely found. Most experts believe it lies somewhere at Saqqara, close to the pyramid he is tied to. It makes sense, but belief is not discovery. In the middle of the last century, the British archaeologist Walter Emery dug through North Saqqara, looking for exactly that tomb. He found a candidate. He could never confirm it was Imhotep, and the search has never really stopped. Even in recent years, Egyptian archaeologists have said openly that the hunt for Imhotep's tomb goes on. So this is where we are left. A commoner, named beside a king, tied by later tradition to the first great building in stone, turned, over 2,000 slow years, into a god of medicine he may never have practiced. And then, for all of that, lost. His grave still hidden somewhere under the sand he helped make famous. The movies gave you a monster in bandages. The truth is, a builder we half remember, a doctor who probably never was, and a god we still cannot find. Which of those is the real Imhotep is a question Egypt has been answering and re-answering for 4,000 years. True stories, known or not.